Suraj never imagined that his life would change the moment an alien walked into his apartment. It was supposed to be a normal day, just moving into the shared housing of the interstellar exchange program. But everything felt strange when he opened the door to see Xylar standing there. The alien was unlike anything he had seen before. His silver skin glimmered softly under the light. His 3 eyes studied the room with an intensity that made Suraj's heart race, and his limbs bent in ways that no human body could. "So, you're my new roommate," Suraj said, trying to sound casual, but his voice shook a little. Xylar tilted his head and spoke in a soft, melodic voice. "Yes, I am Xylar. I come from the planet Zephyra. You're humans. They are fascinating." Suraj laughed nervously. "Fascinating? That was one way to put it. Well, I guess humans are different," he said, shrugging. "You'll see soon enough." At first, things were awkward. Xylar moved carefully around the apartment, touching nothing, observing everything. He watched how Suraj made his bed, prepared food, and even how he sipped water. It was unnerving, but also strangely comforting. Xylar's curiosity was pure. There was no judgment, no malice, just an unending hunger to understand. By the second night, they were sitting across from each other, eating a simple dinner of noodles and vegetables. Suraj tried small talk. "So, do you like Earth food?" Xylar's 3 eyes glowed faintly. "It is edible. But I am more interested in your behaviors. How humans interact with each other, how you bond." Suraj paused. "Bond, that was personal. Too personal." "Well, bonding is complicated," he said carefully. "It's not just about friendship. It's about feelings. About trust, about love." Xylar's eyes widened and his gaze became fixed. "Love? Explain." "I do not understand. On Zephyra, we do not bond in this way. Life is different. We reproduce, but we do not feel this." Suraj felt a strange flutter in his chest. He had never thought about his own humanity in such direct terms. And yet here was Xylar, looking at him with an innocent, desperate curiosity, asking questions that no human had ever dared to ask him. "Well, it's natural," he said slowly. "It's how humans create life. It's emotional, special, something beautiful." Xylar leaned closer, his silver skin shimmering in the dim light. "Create life like this. You humans can make new humans." Suraj nodded. "Yeah, that's how it works. But it's not just mechanics. There's more to it. Feelings, desire, connection. It's complicated." The alien seemed to process this, blinking slowly with all 3 eyes. "Complicated, I see. You feel, and in feeling, you create life. This is remarkable." That night, Xylar went to his room but did not sleep. He stared at his reflection in the metallic surface of the window, twisting his hands in ways that looked almost human. For the first time in his life, he felt a strange stirring inside. A mix of awe, curiosity, and a hint of longing. He had always been analytical, always precise, always distant from the raw emotions of his species. But humans were different. Their lives were messy, chaotic, emotional. And yet, in that chaos, there was beauty. Suraj, on the other side of the apartment, lay in his bed and wondered about the strange new roommate he had been given. He felt nervous, yes, but also protective. There was something about Xylar that demanded care. That made him want to explain, to teach, to guide. Neither of them knew it yet. But this awkward first night was the beginning of a bond that would change them both forever. Xylar's fascination with humans would not end with observation. It would grow into something deeper, something that might even challenge the very boundaries of what it meant to be human and what it meant to be an alien. And in that small, ordinary apartment on Earth, 2 beings from entirely different worlds stared at the night sky, unaware that their lives were about to become anything but ordinary. Days turned into weeks, and Xylar's curiosity about humans only grew stronger. He watched Suraj closely, noticing how he smiled at friends, how he laughed at jokes, how he comforted people who were sad. Every action seemed to carry meaning beyond words, and Xylar was fascinated. On Zephyra, life was orderly, predictable. Emotions were measured, gestures were minimal. But humans moved with chaos and warmth, and that chaos intrigued him deeply. One evening, Suraj was on a video call with his friend, a girl named Amina. Xylar, sitting on the couch behind him, tilted his head. He watched their conversation, not understanding the words fully but noticing the way their eyes lit up, the soft smiles, the gentle teasing. His curiosity grew urgent. "Suraj," Xylar said, his voice quiet but serious. "Why do you pair like that? Your interactions, they seem more than friendship." Suraj froze. The question hit him harder than he expected. He had never discussed human intimacy with anyone outside his species. And now here was an alien, staring at him with 3 eyes full of expectation. "It's complicated," he began slowly. "It's about feelings, about connection, about trust." Xylar's 3 eyes widened, glowing softly in the dim light. "Trust? Feelings?" "Explain. I do not understand," Suraj hesitated. "Well, humans can create life together. We breed, as you would call it. But it's not just biology. It's emotional. It's meaningful. It's love." The words seemed to shock Xylar. He leaned forward, every movement precise, deliberate. "Love creates life? You humans can make new humans with feelings?" Suraj nodded. "Yes, but it's not something you just do. It's about care, about wanting to share your life with someone else. It's more than instinct. It's beautiful, but complicated." Xylar went silent for a long moment, staring at Suraj as if trying to absorb the concept in its entirety. On Zephyra, reproduction was straightforward and unfeeling. The process was simple, clean, and emotionless. But this was entirely different. He felt something stir inside him, an unfamiliar pull, a fascination mixed with awe. "I do not understand fully," Xylar admitted finally, his voice soft, almost hesitant. "On Zephyra, we do not feel like this. Our life creation is mechanical. But your way, it is alive." Suraj watched him, a little surprised. "It's not just about making life," he said gently. "It's about connection, about wanting to protect someone, to care for them, to share moments with them. It's why humans matter to each other." Xylar's head tilted. "Moments, care, share. I observe these things, but I have never felt them. Yet I want to. I must understand. To see humans fully, I must see this. I must understand life as you live it." Suraj felt a strange mix of emotions, pride, amusement, and even a little fear. This alien, who had come from a world without emotions like these, was not just watching. He wanted to experience it. And that was both beautiful and dangerous. Over the next few days, Xylar began paying closer attention to Suraj's interactions. He mimicked gestures subtly, practiced smiles in the mirror, tried small conversations with neighbors, all in his quest to understand how humans connected. He was not just learning words or actions. He was learning intent, nuance, the invisible thread of care that bound humans together. Suraj noticed the changes. The alien was no longer distant. He lingered at the table longer, asked more questions, laughed quietly at jokes, and even seemed concerned when Suraj seemed tired or sad. It was strange, almost surreal. But Suraj found himself smiling more often, explaining more, and slowly letting Xylar into the private corners of his life. For the first time, Xylar realized that humans were not just curious creatures to study. They were living, breathing examples of emotion, passion, and connection. And as he watched Suraj with a soft glow in his 3 eyes, he understood one thing clearly. If he wanted to truly understand humans, he would need to feel, not just observe, and that realization would change everything. Xylar's curiosity had grown beyond observation. He wanted more than to watch humans. He wanted to understand them from the inside. Every movement, every word, every glance humans shared seemed full of meaning he could not yet grasp. And so one quiet evening, he began what he called his experiment. He started small. He practiced gestures, smiles, hand movements, even the way Suraj nervously touched his own face when he was unsure. Xylar studied body language, tone of voice, and timing. He tried talking to neighbors, but the humans were cautious, some frightened, others confused. He realized quickly that copying humans' external actions was not enough. There was a core inside them he could not see. One night, Xylar held a small plant in his hands, whispering to it as he had seen Suraj speak softly to friends during sad moments. "Life, fragile. Connection. Must understand," he muttered. Suraj peeked from his room, watching. The alien whispered to a mere plant with sincerity in his glowing eyes. "Xylar, what are you doing?" Suraj asked, stepping closer, unsure whether to be alarmed or amused. Xylar looked up, his 3 eyes shining. "I try to understand. Humans make life, bond, create. Love, I do not understand fully, but I must. I need to learn. Suraj swallowed, feeling a strange mixture of emotions. He realized this was no longer casual curiosity. Xylar wanted to experience human intimacy, and that was something Suraj had never expected from an alien roommate. You can't just experiment with it, Suraj said carefully. It's not something mechanical. It's about feeling, trust, and choice. Xylar's gaze softened. I observe, but observation is insufficient. I need connection. I must see humans truly. Suraj realized the gravity in Xylar's voice. There was a hunger in him, an urgency unlike anything human or alien Suraj had ever known. This wasn't about curiosity anymore. It was about experiencing the essence of life as humans lived it. The days that followed were full of careful lessons. Suraj taught Xylar small human gestures first, how to smile in warmth rather than mockery, how to ask questions with patience instead of bluntness, how to sit close without frightening someone. Xylar absorbed every detail, practicing late into the night, sometimes alone, sometimes under Suraj's watchful eye. One evening, Suraj asked, "Why is it so important to you? You already have your species' ways of life and creation." Xylar paused. Zephyra? Life is predictable, mechanical, ordered. Humans are chaotic, emotional, alive. I must see, understand. To witness life as humans create it is a truth I cannot ignore. Suraj nodded slowly. He understood now that Xylar's need to understand humans was not just curiosity. It was a thirst for meaning, for something deeper than existence itself. And though it was strange, even frightening, Suraj felt proud. He realized that his species, fragile as it seemed, held something so powerful that even an alien long used to control and logic desired it. By now, Xylar had started to mimic human courtship rituals in private, practicing tones of voice, the gentle touch of a hand, even the subtle glances Suraj exchanged with friends. Though clumsy, he was learning. And every night he would stare at his reflection, twisting and turning, whispering words he did not fully understand. Connection, bond, trust, care. Through it all, Suraj watched with a mix of awe and caution. He could see that the alien's obsession was growing, that Xylar's heart, or whatever function was closest to it, was opening. And somewhere deep inside, Suraj felt a strange pride. His human ways, messy, emotional, unpredictable, were so extraordinary that even an alien mind could not resist them. The apartment, once quiet and ordinary, had become a laboratory of emotion and discovery. And in the glow of the late-night light, Xylar whispered to himself once more, I must understand life, as humans live it, fully. Suraj knew this was only the beginning. Xylar's curiosity had grown beyond study and practice. He wanted to see humans in their most intimate moments, the moments that defined connection. Suraj had taught him gestures, tones, and the meaning behind subtle touches. But Xylar longed for real understanding. One sunny afternoon, he took his first step outside the safe walls of their apartment. He approached a human couple sitting in the park. His 3 eyes glimmered with anticipation as he watched them laugh and hold hands. Why do they do this? He whispered to himself. Then, before he fully realized, he stepped closer and spoke. Why do you humans bond? Explain. How do you create life? The couple jumped up startled. They stared at the silver-skinned alien with disbelief and fear. Suraj, who had been walking nearby, sprinted toward Xylar, his heart pounding. Xylar, stop, you can't just ask humans about that, he yelled, grabbing Xylar's arm. The alien turned, his glowing eyes intense. But I must understand. If I do not, I cannot understand life as humans live it. Suraj's heart ached. He had known Xylar's curiosity was deep, but this was dangerous. Humans were cautious, fearful, and easily alarmed by anything alien. And Xylar's unfiltered honesty, his need to know and understand, had crossed a line. You can't treat humans like specimens, Suraj shouted, pulling him back to the sidewalk. You have to understand feelings, not just actions. Trust, care, and consent. Without those, it's not human bonding. It's wrong. Xylar's 3 eyes softened, but he did not fully grasp the concept. I only want to learn, to understand, to see humans fully, he said, almost pleading. I observe. I try to practice. Yet it is insufficient. I must witness. I must feel. Suraj took a deep breath. He realized that this was more than curiosity. It was an obsession, a need to touch the essence of humanity itself. And if he didn't guide Xylar carefully, The alien could unintentionally hurt someone or worse, destroy the fragile trust humans placed in each other. Sylar, Suraj said, his voice calmer now. Listening is not enough. Watching is not enough. You need to understand hearts. Humans share life because they care for each other. That care comes first, then comes bonding. That is the order. You cannot skip it. The alien blinked slowly, processing every word. Care comes first, he murmured. Then bonding. Only with trust. Yes, Suraj said. Connection is more than mechanics. You cannot take it lightly. If you want to understand life, you must first understand compassion, empathy, respect. Sylar stayed silent, his glowing eyes fixed on the park. He had glimpsed something raw, beautiful, and untouchable. Humans could create life, but it was intertwined with feelings humans held close, like treasures hidden inside themselves. And Sylar, for all his intelligence, realized that these feelings could not be forced or hurried. Later that evening, back in their apartment, Sylar sat quietly in his room. For the first time, he experienced something unfamiliar, a shadow of frustration, of helplessness. He wanted to understand humans fully, but there were limits he could not cross. He felt the weight of emotions he had never felt before, admiration, longing, and even fear. Suraj knocked on the door. Sylar, it's okay to feel frustrated. That's part of being human. But remember, understanding is not just seeing, it's learning to care, to wait, to respect. That's what makes humans extraordinary. Sylar looked at him, glowing faintly, and whispered, I begin to understand. I see now. There is more to life than observation. There is respect, connection, care. I must learn this, fully. And in that quiet apartment, two beings, one human, one alien, sat in silence. The crisis had not ended in disaster, but it had left a mark. Sylar's obsession had pushed him to the edge, and Suraj realized that teaching him would require patience, courage, and the strength to guide an alien mind through the most human of experiences. The journey of understanding, Suraj knew, had only just begun. After the park incident, Sylar began to change. His obsession had been raw and unfiltered, but now there was patience in his actions. He spent hours observing humans, yes, but he also began asking questions with care, watching not just movements but emotions. Suraj noticed the difference immediately. The alien's curiosity had grown into something deeper, a desire to truly understand, not just see. One quiet evening, Suraj sat on the couch sipping tea, while Sylar sat cross-legged on the floor, watching him intently. Suraj, teach me more, Sylar said softly. Not just actions, the feelings behind them. Suraj nodded. It's not easy, he said. Humans are messy. We hurt each other sometimes, even when we love. But we forgive, we care, we keep going. That's what makes it real. Sylar tilted his head, absorbing every word. Forgive. Care. Continue. I do not fully understand. Suraj smiled faintly. You will. Humans create life not just with biology, but with their hearts. We share ourselves, our time, our trust. That's the bond. That's what makes it human. For the next few days, Suraj led Sylar through small exercises. They watched sunsets together, a simple human act that Sylar had never considered meaningful. They shared meals, laughing at the smallest jokes, feeling the warmth of connection in silence. Sylar learned to notice subtleties, the tilt of a smile, the pause in a conversation, the gentle touch of reassurance. One night, Suraj asked, Do you feel something when you watch this? Sylar thought for a moment. I feel curiosity and longing, a desire to belong, to understand fully, not just observe. My mind knows, but my heart begins to grasp. It was a breakthrough. The alien was learning that connection was not a formula to replicate, but a feeling to experience. Every lesson deepened his understanding, and every conversation brought him closer to the human essence. Sylar began to reflect more on his own existence. On Zephyra, life was precise, predictable, and devoid of emotional depth. But humans lived in chaos and imperfection, yet they thrived. They were fragile, yet their bonds were strong. They created life not only to survive, but to love, to care, to connect. And Sylar, he wanted that understanding, that depth for himself. Suraj, Sylar said one evening, his voice almost hesitant. I see now. Humans are extraordinary, not because of strength or intelligence, but because of their ability to connect, to share, to care despite fragility. Suraj felt a warmth in his chest. Yes, he said softly. That's why humans endure. We make mistakes, we fail, we hurt, but we keep reaching for each other. That's what life is about. Sylar's 3 eyes glimmered. Then, if I wish to understand humans, I must learn this. Patience, this care. I must not only observe life, but honor it. Protect it. Share it. I begin to feel this. And in that moment, Suraj realized something incredible. His alien roommate, who had once been a distant observer, was now walking the path of human understanding. He was learning what it meant to care, to bond, to see beyond mere action into the realm of emotion. The apartment, once filled with curiosity and awkward attempts, now held a new energy. It was a space of learning, of patience, and of quiet discovery. Sylar's obsession had transformed into reverence. His fascination with humans had evolved into admiration for their resilience, their warmth, and their capacity to create life not just with mechanics, but with love. That night, as the city lights glimmered outside the window, Sylar whispered softly to himself, "To understand life fully, I must first understand the heart. Only then can I see humans as they truly are. Extraordinary, fragile, and beautiful." And Suraj, lying on the couch with a faint smile, realized that the alien was no longer just a roommate. He was becoming something more, a student of humanity, a witness to what made humans truly remarkable. The lesson had begun. And the journey toward understanding, toward truly seeing the soul of a human life, had only just started. Weeks passed, and Sylar's lessons with Suraj had grown deeper. He had learned gestures, tones, and even the small, subtle ways humans showed care. But there was one thing he still did not fully understand: the weight of true human emotion, the vulnerability, the fear, and the joy all at once. That lesson would come unexpectedly, in a moment neither of them could have predicted. One evening, Suraj fell ill. It started as a small fever but quickly worsened. His body shook and his face turned pale. Sylar noticed immediately, his 3 eyes widening in alarm. He had seen humans sick before, but this was different. He felt a strange tightening inside, a feeling he had never felt on Zephyra. Worry, fear, and helplessness all at once. "Suraj, you are unwell," Sylar said softly, kneeling beside the bed. "This is serious. I must help. I must protect." Suraj tried to smile, but the weakness in his body made it impossible. "It's okay. I'll be fine," he whispered. But even as he spoke, Sylar could sense the human fragility that words could not hide. For hours, Sylar stayed by Suraj's side. He brought water, adjusted the blankets, and even held Suraj's hand in a careful, gentle touch he had learned over weeks of observation and practice. Each moment, Sylar felt an unfamiliar but powerful emotion growing within him. Care that was no longer just curiosity, care that was deeply personal. "You care for me," Suraj murmured weakly, his voice trembling. "You understand humans more than I thought." Sylar's eyes glimmered with an intensity Suraj had never seen. "I feel it now. The weight of care, the need to protect, the connection. I did not know this until I saw you vulnerable. My heart, my mind, they both ache for your safety." Suraj smiled faintly, feeling a warmth that went beyond physical comfort. He realized that Sylar had crossed the line from observation to true empathy. This alien, once a stranger fascinated by human reproduction and bonding, had now learned the most profound part of being human: the capacity to feel deeply, to connect, to care for someone beyond knowledge, beyond curiosity. "You're learning," Suraj whispered. "Not just the actions, but what it means to be human. The fear, the joy, the love." Sylar nodded slowly, gripping Suraj's hand gently. "I see now. Humans are fragile, yet in fragility you are strong. You care, you bond, you risk everything for each other. I understand, more than observation. I understand feeling." Suraj's chest tightened. He had never expected that his alien roommate could grasp the essence of humanity so fully. And yet here Sylar was, learning, feeling, and even loving in a way that transcended species. As the night deepened, Suraj finally fell asleep. Sylar stayed awake, keeping watch. For the first time, he realized that humans' power was not in their technology, their knowledge, or their physical strength. Their true power lay in their hearts, their ability to care, to protect, to create and nurture life even when the world was uncertain and cruel. Xylar whispered softly, almost to himself, "To witness this, to feel this, is to understand life fully. Human, they are extraordinary. Their power is not in might or mind, but in love, and I have felt it." In that quiet apartment, the bond between alien and human had transformed. It was no longer about lessons or curiosity. It was about connection, trust, and shared vulnerability. And in that moment, Xylar glimpsed something profoundly human, the courage to care, even when fear and uncertainty were overwhelming. For the first time, he understood that life was more than observation, more than survival. Life was connection. Life was love. And he, an alien far from home, had finally touched the core of what it meant to be human. The lesson had reached its peak. Xylar no longer merely studied humanity. He felt it, lived it, and understood its extraordinary strength. Months had passed since Xylar first arrived. The silver-skinned alien who had entered Suraj's apartment as a curious observer was no longer the same being. He had learned gestures, tones, and subtle actions, but more importantly, he had learned to feel. And now, as the day of his departure approached, a quiet tension filled the apartment, the weight of unspoken emotions pressing in on both of them. Xylar stood by the window, staring at the city below. His 3 eyes glimmered faintly in the morning light. "Suraj," he said, his voice unusually soft. "I am to return to Zephyra. My time here ends, but I do not wish to leave as I came. I have learned, feeling, connection. Life, humans, you are extraordinary." Suraj walked to him, feeling a strange mix of pride, sadness, and awe. "You've changed," he said quietly. "You've gone beyond observation. You've felt what it means to care, to protect, to bond. You've learned humanity, in a way few ever do." Xylar turned toward him, his gaze intense yet gentle. "I have seen fragility, fear, joy, and love. I have witnessed what humans endure, and what you give to each other without hesitation. It is beautiful. I understand now that life is not simply survival. It is sharing, caring, creating, protecting what is precious." Suraj felt his chest tighten. He realized that the alien, who had once asked about human reproduction with innocent curiosity, now understood the essence of life itself. "You'll carry this back to Zephyra," he said softly. "And maybe your people will see what humans can truly do." Xylar nodded slowly. "Yes, I will tell them. I will show them the strength humans hold. Not in weapons, not in power, but in heart. The courage to care, the courage to bond, the courage to create life and protect it, even in fragility." As the shuttle's arrival drew near, Xylar extended a limb in the closest gesture of farewell he had learned from humans. A hug. Suraj hesitated for a moment, then stepped forward, wrapping his arms around the alien. The contact was brief, but it carried the weight of months of shared experiences, lessons, and emotions. "Thank you," Xylar whispered, his voice low, resonant. "For teaching me, for showing me humanity." Suraj smiled, feeling warmth spread through him. "You've taught me too," he said. "You've shown me how remarkable humans can be, even when seen through alien eyes. And maybe that's the real lesson. Humanity is extraordinary, not because we are strong or smart, but because we care, we bond. We create life and nurture it no matter the cost." The shuttle lights flickered outside the window. Xylar stepped back, looking once more at the city that had become a place of learning, wonder, and connection. "Farewell, Suraj," he said softly. "Your world, your humanity, I will carry it with me. Always." And with that, he moved toward the shuttle, glancing back one last time. Suraj watched as the shuttle lifted off, disappearing into the sky. His heart felt heavy yet full, because in teaching Xylar he had witnessed something extraordinary. Humans were fragile, yes, but they were also remarkable in ways no alien technology or superior intellect could measure. Xylar's journey had begun as curiosity, evolved into obsession, and reached its peak in understanding the human heart. And as he traveled back to Zephyra, he carried more than knowledge. He carried the essence of what made humans extraordinary: the courage to feel, the will to connect, and the endless capacity to love. Suraj stood at the window, watching the stars swallow the shuttle. A smile tugged at his lips. Humanity was flawed, messy, emotional. But in those flaws, in those connections, there was power greater than any weapon or alien technology could ever hold. And somewhere among the stars, Xylar understood it fully. He had witnessed the true heart of humanity, and that understanding would never leave him.